What is going on, guys? Man, we are here. I have Miss Christa Dior here. She's actually a motivational speaker. Man, I'm just super excited. We're here, through God's will, another day, another episode, filming a phenomenal woman that's going to be dropping so much value, giving you guys the gems that you guys need to really make it out. I'm just excited that she gave us some of her time. Krista, man, I'm excited to have you here, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Like who you are, what you do. Just give us some details. My audience would like to know.
All right. Well, thank you for having me on your platform. It's definitely an honor. Um,
Absolutely.
it's Krista. Like I said, I don't know. I don't get too into titles and labels. I know that before anything, I am a daughter of God, and that identity alone has given me a lot of strength, a lot of confidence to do His will. Outside of a speaker, a writer, and all of these things that He has gifted and anointed me to do,
Right.
I and so I leave it kind of there. A little bit about me. I'm 25 years old. I'm from Maryland. I have a son. We actually share the same birthday. He's 7. Our birthday is March 6th. So we
Wow.
birthday, and that's super exciting. So another year that God has sustained us, blessed us, and brought us here. Yeah, I do ministry.
Uh-huh.
I was kind of thrown into ministry. I never seen my
Wow.
life going in this direction. If you would have told me this in college, I graduated college December 2020. If you would have told me this freshman year, I would have probably looked at you like, actually, it's funny, Uh,
What?
my mother in college, she said, when you leave my son, she was a Christian woman, and she said, when you leave my son, God has something great in store for you. And I just kind of looked at her and I was like, okay. But when God called me, I thought about her. So
Mhm.
definitely interesting to see.
Wow. You mentioned being thrown in ministry. What do you mean by that? How were you thrown into ministry? How did that work?
Well, the story where they say that God will leave the 99 to rescue the one. And so when God called me, because you all know that God is always with us first and foremost. I can look back on my life and I can see His fingerprints even when I wasn't conscious to it just yet. But when God
Mm,
actually called me and He actually located me by name,
yeah.
I'm just so excited to actually be conscious, to actually say that, hey, I want life. I want a life more than the life that I've been living, and
Wow.
know what I'm talented in. I want to know what I'm gifted and good at. I don't want to just feel like my life is random. And so I started to like explore different things that I could be good at. I actually tried different things. And at the time, I was a heavy drinker. So I was like, maybe I could be a
Mm,
bartender. And then something came over me and said, I'm trying to grow. Maybe
yeah.
liquor, we don't need to be involved. So I started writing,
Mm,
and I always used to write. I used to write as a coping mechanism in middle school and high school. And it's something that I gave up because I heard a voice one day said, I'm no good at this. So I put it to the side and I picked it back up. I started writing and I heard something say, start blogging. So I created a website and I started blogging. And I didn't do it for an audience. I literally did it as my soul's release and to finally express what was going on the inside. And
wow.
I was able to grow an audience. And next thing you know, I heard the voice of the Lord say, create IGT videos. Not everybody likes to read. And I was,
Wow.
me, a video? I said, God, when I used to speak, I would get real shaky. I never liked to speak. Even in conversations, I wasn't even big on having conversations with other people. I used to call myself socially awkward. So the fact that
Mm,
he told me to speak on camera, I said, I know you're lying to me, but I was just so in the mode of whatever you say, I'm just happy to be here. Let's do it. And I did it, and the journey has continued to unfold.
wow. You said a lot there. You said one of the things that really stuck out. You said that God um will leave the 99 and come back for the one. Can you expound on that?
Okay. So when I say that God will leave the 99 and come back for the one, it's a statement. God, you didn't choose God, God chose you. And God didn't just choose you one day and woke up and said, you know what, I want to use you. No, this is something that was predestined and chosen before the foundations of the earth. That's why he can boldly tell Jeremiah, before I formed you, I knew you. Before I placed you
Yeah.
in my mother's womb, I knew you. And so
Wow.
we have this thing where we think that, oh, one day God is just like, hey, I want to use you, but God has already had an appointed plan set for
Mhm.
you. He's seen the course of your life and he knew how it was going to unfold, and he knew when you would be receptive to that call. And so a lot of times God would allow your journey to, first of all, we have a real enemy too. So
Yeah.
you might think that your life is spiraling, but God is saying, at the right moment, I'm going to call you. At the right moment, I know she's going to, or he's going to hearken to my voice, and they're going to be able to hear and receive me. And that's another thing. We will
Mhm.
get so low, and God will allow us to get so low because he will be the one to sit there and say, that one is mine.
Yeah.
Calls you by name, you have a choice right then and there. Will I answer, and when I listen to the voice of God? Because many are called, but few are chosen. But God is always, he's not here to save the already saved. He's here to save the lost. So he
Right.
will leave the flock and he will trust them to be able to do the mission of which they're called to do while he goes out and he continues to save his chosen generation.
Wow. Wow. Man, that was powerful. I see that, just from hearing you, it just lets me know, of how much time you spend with God, and your alone time and your worship time and different things. Now, what did you like? What transpired for you to get to where you are now? This person that I'm looking at, the person that was heavy into drinking, probably one of the favorite drinks, probably like Don Julio or some Douce or however that goes, right?
Real cheap.
Like, like from going from that person who was in the world, doing her thing, and wasn't really worried about Christ. Like, what transpired you to really draw near? Was there an event? Was there a situation? Talk about that.
Yeah, yeah. So before I get into that, I just want to say that verse where it tells us, train a child up in the way they should go, and in the end they shall not depart from it, is real. My father always instilled God into me. He was a minister, and I had some church hurt. So I didn't really, I was like, okay, that might be your thing, but that's not my thing. So I'm going to find my thing. And as I got older and I decided I'm not going to church no more, that was my decision. And my dad would always call me, Chris, did you read your Bible today? No, maybe one day. Chris, did you
Hmm.
pray today? No, maybe one day. And so I was just out here living. And then I ended up in college. Well, I ended up pregnant with my son my that summer going to my senior year,
Mhm.
and right before I went to college. And so I had this thing about me. If you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to show you 100 reasons why I can. So my family said, oh, she's pregnant. She can't go to a university. I said, well, I'll go to Bowie State University. I don't care if it's down the street. There's a university attached to it. So
Right.
I ended up at Bowie State, and me and my son's father broke up. I ended up in a abusive relationship,
Mhm.
and that was about 2.5 years of very toxicness. And
Wow.
mind you, in high school and middle school, I suffered from depression. And if you ask me why, I didn't really have like a super bad child. I mean, things happen, but
Yeah.
I really do believe in the enemy wanting to take the seed out in seed form,
Yeah.
and also carrying down that generational curse and
Right.
dealing with the sins of your forefathers. And so depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, I was very familiar with that. And so after
Mhm.
getting out my abusive relationship, I found myself in a familiar place of me wanting to take my life again. And I remember when I gave birth to my son, and there was a promise that I promised him when they placed him on me. I said, I'll live for you.
Yeah.
So when I found myself in that place, it shocked me because I said, no way I'm this low, and not even my son is enough for me. And so it was that day where I also realized that not even my own child is enough to save me. So I remember I was sitting in the car and I was completely like, I had just got a restraining order. I low key was like, I feel so lonely. I don't know what to do with myself. And I was in
Wow.
the car. I found this girl's poetry that I loved, and I listened to it. And I just paused it and I said, God, you know what? I don't want to feel this way. And I don't want to be here if this is all that life has to offer me. So
Mm.
if you're real the way that they've told me in the past that you're real, you're going to have to show me. And I don't really remember too much of the events after, but I know that from that moment forth, like peace overcame me, where he says, like, that peace that surpasses all understanding. Like, I
Talk
had
about it.
peace. I
Yeah.
had real peace and I couldn't explain it. I was just like, I feel light. And so I call that me being able to experience the light and the glory of God. And I just got a glimpse of it. It was a small glimpse. And I said, no, 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 no. I need to know more about that. And
Wow.
so from there, I just had a strong desire. He placed such a burning desire in my heart to want to be a better person. I'm not a victim. I've hurt people. People have hurt me.
Yeah.
I fact that I've hurt people. So that desire to want to be better for my loved ones, to want to just be better, all a better woman, a better mother, a better daughter, a better friend, that alone mixed in with seeking the face of God. I started listening to sermons. I started watching podcasts. God put me in a season where I lost all my friends. I ended up with this new guy and we broke up. My best friend didn't want to be my best friend no more. So I was completely alone. I was working at Amazon. I was driving the truck. So I had no other choice but to be by myself. And I just listened to sermons all day. And it
Wow.
was just that my mind started to be renewed.
Wow. So, um, man, um, you know, I talk to, a lot of people. I have a lot of friends, and I see a lot of things down my timeline of people going through, different things in relationships. You talked about, being in an abusive relationship, and what would you say the signs? Are there any signs of Are there any signs of a toxic relationship before it actually gets to abuse?
There's many signs that I believe that we ignore. I've actually never self-reflected that question, so I don't have one ready off the top of my head for you.
Okay.
But I would definitely say the anger
Yeah.
definitely presents itself in different forms
Mhm.
and different lights. The confusion, not being clear on where you stand, is another telltale sign.
That's good.
Yeah, I guess those would be the two main ones that I know. I seen the anger.
Hmm.
I was just like, maybe I don't know. I always had a reason. I seen the confusion. I seen the lack of clarity of where I stood. I seen the disrespect. And over time, signs present itself every step of the way. You just continue to make excuses and excuses.
Right. Because I know we going in. I know we going in deep, so I'm gonna reel us back out just real brief. What do you do for a living?
What do I do for a living as
Yeah.
far as work?
Yeah.
Well, I have a job. I have a job.
Okay.
Um, I work for Adventist Healthcare.
Okay. So you're in the healthcare field.
Yeah,
Okay.
for now.
For now. Okay.
Yeah,
And
for now.
would you say that is like, a stepping stone into what you actually want to do, like as far as your passion?
No, it's completely unrelated.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. And is motivational speaking like is that a gift? Is that who you are? Is that your passion? What like where does this come from?
I've
Because
actually,
how I found you is on TikTok,
yeah,
just speaking, right?
yeah.
So go ahead.
I've actually never considered myself a motivational speaker. I think you were actually the first person to say that. And I was like, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
never heard that I was a good encourager, but for me,
Mhm.
it's just always been, I don't, and I'm getting better at structuring and really figuring out the strategy for my ministry because all of this is very important. But I've never been more concerned about how to structure a business or a brand, more so just pouring out what God fills me with. I've realized that I am a mentor and a
Okay.
coach in different people's lives.
Hmm.
A lot of people can come to me and they can get an actual word. I'm somebody who hears from God. I'm somebody who knows how to intercede on others' behalf and actually
Hmm.
get a download. Um, I'm also really good at structuring people's lives and being able to see and being able to move past their own limiting beliefs and do
Mm.
the self reflection and help them see for
Mhm.
themselves.
Wow.
um, Coaching, mentoring, those are things that I'm very passionate about and that I'm actually working on behind the scenes, getting certain licensings going through, making sure that I got the fundamentals, the education behind me. As far as me talking online, I
Yeah.
just pour out what the Lord says. So I'm not super consistent because there are seasons where God is like, "Hey, I didn't, He didn't give me anything." I'm not one
Yeah.
who a word. I'm not somebody who forces me to. Okay, let me say this because I want to be consistent. No, if God did not speak to me, I don't speak. So there's
Wow.
times where I am silent. Like right now, I'm in a silent thing, and people are like, "When's the next podcast?" So I do have a podcast.
Okay.
I don't have a word. I can't
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
But I believe that this is just a stepping stone. So I
Mm.
believe that as time goes on and as I continue to travel with God, I
Yeah.
will be more consistent in doing and setting up certain programs.
Absolutely, man. I can't wait. What's the name of your podcast?
It is called Unleash You, the
Um,
Unleash You podcast.
gotcha. And how many episodes are on there currently?
I have 10 episodes.
This podcast. Make sure you guys check out the Unleashed podcast. Definitely want to get some insight on some revelation. If if you ever want to know some information, just wisdom, definitely check that out. Now, Krista, as we were talking, you mentioned certain disappointments and mental torments and different things of that such nature. And I find that it's really hard when you don't have a friend or you don't know God. You really don't even know who you are. Like, what would you tell that person, or how did you make it out of that mental torment or those disappointments? Like, like, what was it that drove you out of that arena? What did you have to do?
Well, most of us live life on autopilot.
Hmm.
Most of us are not aware of our own thoughts. And so these subconscious beliefs that have been developed over time, over repetitive thinking, over trauma, over experiences, they have embedded certain beliefs and patterns, and these thoughts play on repeat on a continuous loop. And most of us are unaware of that. And so, one thing that I always tell people that your thoughts are connected to an emotion and your emotions formulate your actions. And so it's a trickle down effect. And once I realized that I might not have power over every thought that I think, but I do have power to become aware of my own thinking. And
Mm.
it's in that place of self awareness that I get to choose or reject the thought that I want to meditate on, because what you meditate on, what you feed grows. And so when I got to that point where God started to renew my mind, He started to show me my mind is one of actually the greatest things that I have. It's
Mm.
everything that He said, but man, I let us make man in our image. And so our mind reflects the image of God, our creativity.
Wow.
We take dominion over. I have dominion over my thought life. And I
Yeah.
think that's my greatest revelations. And it does not mean that I don't have negative thoughts. I do. More
Yeah.
than as I continue to go from glory to glory, the enemy continues to plant more seeds.
Right.
But how about taking that verse where he says to take every thought captive? But this is really self work because it takes a certain level of vulnerability and humility to dig in and see what lies behind the subconscious, to see what your true
Wow.
beliefs are. And so I tell people the reason why I did a workshop called Healing Your Self Concept, because we might say and profess that we want a thing or that we want to see this thing manifested in our life. But if we have an unchecked belief that says that we are unworthy, incapable, and that thought is on replay, that's our deepest belief, that's what we're going to see manifested in our life. As a
Wow.
man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And so what we have to do and begin to realize is that we have to take off the veil and unlayer everything that is there and process through. And so I'm
Mhm.
also really big on mental health because trauma is something that is stored up in the body. And if we don't become aware of our own traumas, we can never release it. Trauma has to be expressed through our words, and it requires us to think about it. And a
Wow.
lot of when we think about it, it hurts. And
Yeah.
healing is not this, oh my goodness, we're just healing. And no, healing and reflecting and processing this, I've been doing this for 4 years and it has not got easier. And the more
Wow.
I learn, the more that I realize I'm more empathetic to the people who are going through it. And they're like, God has given me a gift to self reflect. Like, this is truly, I'm so self aware to the point where it's sometimes people can't understand it and I can't understand it. I just say it's a gift from God, but I know that not everybody has that same grace and anointing that I have. So I just try to help people become aware. If you become aware of a thing, you have choices.
Right. Wow,
So,
man. This is really, really good, man, because there's somebody out there that is going through, going through it. And, it's one thing that you said, which actually brings me to question, what lies behind the subconscious? Like, what lies behind that? And I think that, as people begin to understand themselves and understand their thoughts, they can understand what lies behind their subconscious, which will for them to understand why they think that way, why they're getting the results that they're getting, why their finances are the way that they are. Because, as you said, as a man think it, so is he. And a lot of our thoughts are, a lot of us cannot. I'm not gonna say, because you said that you learned to control your thought process. A lot of people don't know how to control their thought process. A lot of people just have negative thoughts and don't know where it comes from. So, what are some methods that you use to get that? Because you say you did some self work for 4 years. So, what was that process like to basically, how would I say it? Basically, I'm gonna say configure your subconscious. What is it that you did? What is it that you worked on daily?
okay. Um, in the very beginning, it was really God handing me a mirror. And when he handed me, and this is something that I always tell people, you are not ready to grow until you are ready to face the person in the mirror. And
Mm,
God handed me that mirror. I got to see all of me, the flawed me, the scared me, the insecure me. And I was able to go deeper. So it was asking myself the harder questions. I realized that I could be in an abusive relationship because I didn't respect myself. Why didn't I respect myself? Because I didn't love myself. Why don't I love myself? Because honestly, I don't think I'm worthy. How have I seen this familiar thought pattern of unworthiness play out? When I was supposed to go to school for nursing, there was a thought that said, you are unworthy to go get grades. You will never get in the nursing program. And I immediately reacted and I withdrew myself from the nursing program. I've seen these thoughts play out in my life time and time again. And so
wow.
to get to the root of that thing. So that was in the beginning when I started walking with God. He handed me a mirror. Then it got intensified as the year went by, and the enemy knew that I was becoming awakened. That now he's coming at me full fledged. So we don't, spiritual warfare is very much real, and
Yeah.
so there was a point where I did not know how to control my thoughts. They're coming at me so fast that
Mm,
I'm literally down for weeks and months at a time, but I'm still getting back up. So my biggest thing in that season was, it doesn't matter. You don't give up. You keep professing joy comes in the morning. No matter how dark it gets, joy comes in the morning. If joy didn't meet me that morning, it'll meet me the next morning. And so I had to become delusional in that season. And
mm,
my fight. So now in this season, as God has continued to elevate me in revelation and knowledge and wisdom,
yeah.
I now know how to ground myself. And so I have, it's actually, it's funny because it's right here. It's called Grounding Techniques.
Mm,
And it's a plan that I created for myself for this season of my life.
yeah.
Whenever it gets too heavy, because I'm somebody who I have, my brain's a little bit different. I don't like to say I have, but ADHD.
Mm,
And so anxiousness comes about often. And it's no longer about trying to say, oh, no, whatever, I'm not anxious. No, I am anxious in this moment. Let me explore it. How do I ground myself? And so these techniques that I have is basically me grounding myself back to the truth. And it's
mm,
being able to not ignore how I'm feeling, because that doesn't work. That only brings more shame. I
yeah.
honor how I'm feeling and I say, this is what I feel, but why? God,
Wow.
show me and reveal me. And so I have like routine set. It's more like a ritual. I wake up early. I have
Mhm.
a hot cup of tea. I don't listen. I don't get on social media because I don't want nobody else's thoughts to influence my thoughts. I believe social media, too many opinions mess up your mental health. So
Wow. Talk about it.
yeah, I want less opinions and more
Yeah.
time. You said that every day wisdom sits at the doorpost and she cries out, what does she want to reveal to me today? And I ground myself in my own thoughts and I deal with whatever I need to deal with in that moment before
Right.
I go to bed. I think my night routine is the most important one because it helps. How if I don't do it, I see the difference in how I wake up.
Mm.
So at night, I meditate with affirmations. I put on my candle. I might listen to my R&B, or I might turn on my spoken word. I do my stretches with affirmations of God's word. I read, I go in my prayer closet. And these are things that ground myself in the truth. I
Mm.
might be feeling this way, but God, your word promises me this. You said that you're not a man of lie. You're not a man that you shall lie. And your word literally says right here, be anxious for nothing. So I went through this today. My job got me very anxious today. And
Yeah.
immediately that scripture popped in my head. Be anxious for nothing, but through everything, through prayer and supplication, make your requests known. And the peace that surpasses all understanding will guard your heart. So I went outside. I told him I need 15 minutes and I prayed the word of God. And so the more word that you get in you, the more that you will see spiritual transformation in your life. The word is alive and active. And the more
Right.
that I studied the word over the last few words, I've literally dwelled in the secret place with God and his word. And so I might not know, I can't tell you Romans 3:5 says this, but the word of God is within me and I know it, and the Holy Spirit guides me in it.
Yeah, man, that's so good. That is so good. And don't feel bad, about the ADHD, because there's a lot of us that struggle with that, including
Oh,
myself.
yeah.
Including myself, so I definitely know about the anxiousness, about, like, the mind just racing at 100 miles an
Yeah.
hour, just thoughts. Sometimes I feel like with having ADHD, like, because it's a dopamine thing. We get a thrill off of like adrenaline, and if we don't if we it's they say that it's a lack of dopamine which makes us do different things, and I can't explain it, but I have looked it up because I want to better understand it. So I'm definitely gonna be having a conversation with you about it after, because I know you probably researched and have some different methods.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was good, man. Now tell me, when you were in that season of your life, and you were trying to figure out things, and you're hearing these voices, you're deciding to fight. What was like, what was pushing you, like what was pushing you out of that season? Because a lot of times people just give up. They say it is what it is. Like, hey, this is my life. But what was it in you that said, you know what, like, I want more, like, my life shouldn't look like this, like, I want to know what is life like, truly like, outside of how I am in my reality. So what was pushing you to become the person you are today?
Well, that dream actually started as a little girl. I My family, it was always you get a 9 to 5, you find a way into the government, you make enough money, but they hated their lives. And I remember being a little girl and that terrified me. And I was like, no, 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 no. And I promise you, when I was a little girl, I knew that there was more to me, but I was only young. I didn't know what that was or how that was going to look like, but I knew. I said that this is all that life has to offer. It literally put fear in my heart. So I went through life. First of all, I didn't even know I had ADHD back then. So it was actually affecting my life in a lot of ways that made me
Mm.
feel like, oh my God, I'm going to fail at life. And I'm going to be exactly what my family were, hating their life, just going through this job, going through the motions. And by the time I got to college, I felt so defeated. I said, oh my God, I'm going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
It was that moment when I got that glimpse where I said, oh no, life is more than what I have known it to be. And I became passionate. So I'm a very passionate person. And I believe that God uses the things that he knows about it. So he knows my passion. He
Yeah.
knows that if he sets my heart in the right direction, I will be just as passionate. And that's what he did. I became very passionate about helping others see, hey, there's more to life than the suffering. I know what it's like to suffer and literally not want to be here. I know
Yeah.
what cry yourself to sleep every night. I know what it's like to have tormenting thoughts that this is all that life will ever be. You're never going to amount to anything. And I know what that does to the psyche. But
Right.
somebody named Jesus who set the captives free. Can I
Yeah.
introduce? to him. And so that is what fuels me. The
Mm.
fact that I am able to pour into the people in a way that they are able to come to life beyond their own limitations is the very thing that makes me realize, let's keep going.
Wow. Man, somebody gonna get healed and delivered on this call.
I know so.
somebody gonna get set free, man. This is good, man. And I just want to just speak to the audience. The people that are watching that. If you're going through, really listen to the wisdom that is coming out of Chris's mouth. Just her process and the things that she's went through and how she dealt with it. One of the key things that she said was she constantly filled herself with the word. She constantly filled herself with affirmations, thing of life. Because when you're on your own thoughts, she never said that she didn't have negative thoughts, but she counteracted those negative thoughts with the word said, because the enemy will always try to come at you and tell you who he says you is, but God is the person who created you. So why are we going to listen to our thoughts when God has the authority over our thoughts, right? So we have to learn to go to the word and lean on to God more, because if you don't lean on to God more, what happens is then you begin to fall, you begin to get weak. Flesh starts to do things that you don't want it to do, and that's why you have to keep your flesh under submission. But how can you do that? And I know the flesh is weak, but God is more stronger, and that's why you have to feel yourself daily.
Can,
So
can I say this one thing?
go ahead.
That you were, it's the love of God that transforms.
Yeah.
I just was able to perceive the love of God at the start of this year. I believe that there was a lot of torment and fear. Well, it was a lot of fear. And as
Mm,
the word tells us that love has nothing to do with fear, because fear brings torment. So for a long time I loved God with all my heart, but I was so fearful to mess up. I was so fearful of my flaws. I was so fearful of my mistakes that it counted me out. It wasn't until God gave me the revelation of his love. That's why I can confidently come and say, before any title, I'm a daughter of God. And I hold so dearly to that,
yeah.
because love that is connected to that. When I said it gives you the confidence and the strength to go
Wow.
forward, it's true. Because you will think that you are just this imperfect person, and God is just waiting for you to just come up higher. And it's like God will never love you more than what he does right now. And when
Mm,
we're able to receive his love, there is something that happens on the inside of you that gives you permission to be
wow.
sanctified and go through your process with boldness and a surety. Though the righteous fall 7 times, they get back up. Though he slay me, though shall I, like, it just gives you that fire to sit there and say, I don't care who I am in this moment, God is greater. He's a deliverer, he's able, he is the one who breaks the chains and the yokes, not my strength, not my might, but by the power and the spirit of God, he will do exceedingly and abundantly in my life. and
Mm,
and it's that it's his love really
yeah.
comes all.
Wow. And Krista, tell me this. To someone that is, who left the church, they love God, they just don't want to, go to church. They don't want to deal with, people in church. Like, I'm gonna say, they kind of are doing their own thing. What would you tell that individual? Like, they want to know God, they want to be healed, they want the best, they want all these different things, but they're not willing to submit to God, right? But because they're lost, right? Like, what would you tell that person? That's still trying to find their way and still in the world, but feels like if they feel like they can't they how to say this, they feel like they're gonna be judged because they're still out there drinking, still out there having sex, fornicating, doing their thing, but they feel like they can't come to God or go to church or however it goes. What do you tell that individual, that's scared and doesn't want to be judged or doesn't want to be looked at differently?
Yeah. The beautiful thing, I know that we have not always done a good job, and when I say we, I mean the church, because we can all take collective responsibility. We have not done a very good job of promoting the true gospel and the heart postureness of it all. we push so much the works, but it was never by your might or strength. It was never by your doing. And so God says to come to me as you are. And so a lot of times people will get into that performance based thing. I have to be this person before I can come to God. But true transformation in my life didn't happen because of me. True
Mhm.
transformation happened when I surrendered and I said, God, create a hunger and a thirst in me like never before. And
Yeah.
it's place of surrender where God can break chains off of you and change your appetite. You're not going to have to sit there and try to sustain. You're not going to have an appetite for a thing anymore. But it takes coming as you are. And a lot of times our sins will hold us back from God. But what I had to realize is I was trying to overcome certain sins in my life. I would try to be like Eve and Adam and I would hide. But God is saying, don't hide from me. If you lean into me, you would see as I clothed Adam and Eve, even in the midst of their mess, the same God as today, the same God as well, yesterday, today, and forevermore. I
Right.
will be enough in the midst of your weaknesses. I am still, I am. And I love this. People, I asked this question once, who is God to you? I said, I am. I've never placed a limitation on God and what he can be in my life because I
Yeah.
found up in many different situations and I didn't know what I need, but he showed up as the God of I am. And so come as you belong to the world because I'm weak before a God who is greater. I can go before God and I can now confess my most. He says, if you confess your sins, he is faithful to forgive you. And so now going before him and saying, this is all that I am, God. I don't want to be this way, but I don't know what to do. But you said by your spirit. So show me a different light. Show me, bring the right people, allow bridges and destiny moments to collide, whatever you have to do, but don't hide. Don't hide. That's the worst thing you could do. I wonder if we got disconnected. Yeah, we might have got disconnected, guys.
Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Why is the audio? Hold on.
yeah. It's a little out of whack.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sounds good.
Okay. I'm not sure. I had got a phone call and that's what messed it
Oh,
up, but it's all good. Yeah.
oh.
Um. Can I? Okay. Go ahead and continue. I want to see how this plays out. Go ahead.
So I ended it with just telling them, don't hide from God.
Yeah.
Before God and I confess all that I am. I bring all of me to God because if I am his daughter and he said that I knew you before I formed you and you've already seen the end from the begin, where can I go in anywhere and not be in your presence? Where can I hide from you? There is no hiding. So we hide in our hearts, but it's a heart posture.
Yeah.
God doesn't want that. He doesn't look to change you from the outside in. He changes you from the inside out.
Mm.
And so you have to give yourself permission to be processed. A lot of us want the results. A lot of us want the destiny, the purpose, but nobody wants to be processed because the
Wow.
process is being sanctified. It's being refined. It's allowing him to actually be the potter and you to be the clay and to trust that as he's molding you, as he's shaping you, though it's uncomfortable, though he slay me, though I walk through the valley of darkness, you understand that all of this is refining your character. And as he continues to refine your character, things just fall off of you. You don't got to strive to not have sex. You don't got to strive to not do this. One day you just wake up and you say, God, you know what? I don't have appetite for that for no more. I
Mm.
don't feel cold in those environments no more. You just come up higher naturally. But it takes you being connected. That's why
Yeah.
God said, I am the vine. Jesus said, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those connected to me bear much fruit. Our job is to abide and dwell and stay connected. His job is to bear the fruit in our lives. It
Wow.
takes pressure off you when you put it that way. It's like, okay.
Yeah. That's good. And my last question, Krista, is that to someone, how would I say this? Um, what are five things? a person can do to not only get back involved in praise and worship, praying, but also conditioning. Or what are like five things that a person can do? Like, what are some strategies that a person can do to get back to the person that they once were? The person that they were going to church, they were praying, like, but they drifted off a little bit. What are some things that they can do to start right now to kind of ease their way back in fully and not be the person? I'm not gonna say not be the person that they are now, but I'm just gonna say to kind of not fully give themselves to the world, but fully give themselves to God. Like, fully. What are some things that they can start doing now to get themselves back where they need to be?
Well, you definitely got to change your appetite. What you feed grows. So if you feed the flesh, you will see an increase of the flesh. If
Change your appetite.
Yes. And so something's very simple. Prayer doesn't have to be. I realized at first I felt like I was praying less in this season because I'm in a season where I don't want to hear anything. I'm not really listening to too much. But I was like, am I praying less? And I said, no, I'm literally living a prayer life. I find myself in moments where it's just like, God, create a thirst and a hunger in me again. And it's something so simple. It doesn't need to be a whole bunch of words. It's personal between you and God. So
Yeah.
definitely start there. God, create a hunger and a thirst in me like never before. That I would thirst and hunger after you again. And then from there, start feeding on the things. You're not gonna always feel like doing. That's where discipline come in. And anytime people talk about successful and we talk about discipline, and the same goes true for God. If you want to see something break in your life, you're going to have to maybe like knock at that thing. He said, knock and the door shall be answered, but you got to keep knocking. So
Right.
I listen to a sermon, but not just any sermon. Get in front of the right doctrine. I recommend Prophet Lovey, Cindy Trim, TD Jakes, Sarah Jakes. These are people who I listen to, and they were amazing on my journey. Right now, I'm not, like I said, Prophet Lovey, Cindy Trim, they're a little bit more advanced depending on where you are spiritually. I'm more
Hmm.
on the east side, but
Give
yeah,
them someone. Give them if they're like just coming back. Who's the person that you would recommend? Just coming
Prophet
back.
Lovey. Prophet Lovey.
Prophet Lovey.
Yeah.
Okay, I've been watching Prophet Lovey on TikTok. Man, the guy's phenomenal.
He's amazing. He definitely changed my paradigm on some things. And
Wow.
he's great. I definitely recommend him. Also just spend that time alone. I think that now more than ever with social media, like social media has been a blessing and a curse. And
Yeah.
honestly, a person is transformed by the renewal of their mind, and our minds can be renewed in either direction. And so, with so much stimulation, so much opinions going forth, it's so important to get alone and filter through your own thoughts. So,
Woo.
for meditation, taking away a lot of the stimulation that constant need to scroll, cut down
Yeah.
on journaling is such a great way to introspect and just really see what's in there. Ask yourself
Right.
some questions. You'll be surprised what your mind will answer back to you. um
Wow.
Pray even if you don't feel like it. That's, like I said, it doesn't have to be a long prayer. Fast. Some things can only be broken through prayer and fasting. That is denial. Not You're not fasting for God, but you're fasting for yourself. This is for you. And so fasting is a great way to humble yourself and humble your body back into submission.
Mm.
The last one I would just say is the one that's the most important. Wait on God. A lot of us, we want it right now. Well, I did
Yep.
it week. Okay, what does that mean? I did it for 2 weeks. What does that mean? And so I have this thing where I tell myself and I tell anybody else, profess those things as though they were. Profess those things that aren't as though they were until you see the manifestation of that thing in your life. And so
Wow.
right now I'm declaring that God is doing a new thing. Sometimes it don't feel like that, but God is doing a new thing. And I will
Yeah.
keep confessing that. And that's where those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. Wait on God. One thing that I've learned is that He's faithful and He makes everything beautiful within its time. And
Right.
sometimes He knows that you're not ready for the revelation that's going to break the yoke in your life just yet.
Right.
Wait.
And I have like literally, I wanted that to be my last question, but like I'm just like it's like you just throwing so many gems out there. Um, you know, you said waiting on God, and sometimes waiting on God is painful,
It is.
because we want to get to a different status, and we're just like, God, like, we're tired of going through what we're going through. Like, God, I need you to, like, get me there, like, tomorrow. I don't want to be here in this place anymore. It's sometimes it's even frustrating, because, like, God, I hear you say, wait on me, but here it is, like, I'm not in a situation where I can wait. I need immediate
Yeah.
answers, but God is like, God is like, even though you need those immediate answers, like, nothing can happen without my approval. You get what I'm saying? Like, nothing can happen without my approval. Like, even though you think you're in a bad situation, like, you're really not, because I can change that situation instantly.
Yeah.
You gave me a scripture, which was James 1:5. Can you expound on that?
I gave you, the light that shineth in the dark. I told you, I'm like
Yeah.
connected. Okay. The light that shines. Well, that just goes back to one of the questions that you asked me. I got a glimpse of the light. And so we are also called, when you think about being called and being chosen, um, we are literally the light, the lamp. We are the salt of the earth. And he says
Right.
to put the lamp on the hilltop, it's supposed to shine bright. And so I just think about the light that's within us, the glory
Yeah.
of, called glory carriers. We carry the glory of God. God doesn't do anything in this earth, like he does it through his people.
Right.
And so we are literally here to do the will of the Father. And so we're the light in this earth. And a lot of times that's why we'll see the persecution, we'll see the rejection. He says that they hated the light because their deeds were evil and they loved their deeds. And you'll see.
Right.
And when God comes and he reveals that light in you, and it shows you all the places that have been dark within you. It makes you uncomfortable. You realize
Wow.
maybe not everybody else is the problem. Maybe I do share responsibility in my suffering. Maybe I am the problem in my relationships. And you're able to take accountability. Accountability is one of the greatest things that you can do for your life and for your success, is to know that you are in control of your happiness. You are in control of the decisions that you make. And I know that we're not always in control of what happens, but we're
Yeah.
in control of our perspective.
Right. My very last thing I want to talk about is what happens when you're afraid to deal with you. Because you mentioned, like, God handed you that mirror and you started seeing things about yourself. What happens when you're afraid to really deal with you, sit down and actually deal with the things that God is revealing? Because sometimes the things that God's going to show you is really ugly and nasty. You know what I'm saying? Like, you really don't want to take the time to actually process that. So what happens if a person is afraid to really deal with themselves? Or maybe they just don't want to take the time to actually deal with them. Like, can you explain that?
You end up like the Israelites traveling over the same forever. So God was like, I called you. And you're like, oh, okay, he called me. So now you put a title and a label on it. I'm a Christian. But are you a child of God? Are you a child of
Mhm.
God? And so we seen the Israelites be delivered from their oppression, but
Yeah.
they were reach the promised land in a couple 7 days. And because of their lack of being able to perceive on a different level, their inability to purge their Egypt appetite and actually self-reflect caused them to walk around the wilderness for 40 years. And so what you'll see is, until you are able to face yourself, you will keep attracting the same situations. You will keep attracting the same experiences because God needs you to gain the lesson. He's patient though. That's what I love about God. He's so patient. He will patiently allow you to walk around that mountain for 40 years. He will patiently allow you to do it, and he will love you through it. But it's not any benefit for you. You have to do the
Wow.
hard. You have to face yourself if you want to grow. I did not grow all that I have so far, and I'm just touching the surface. I have not
Yeah.
gotten here. I'm just like, I refuse to do. No, I am the realest person on my team. People probably don't believe me, but I am so brutally honest with myself. And it's because God has given me such the gift of self-awareness. I call myself on my own crap all the time. And it's in that ability, like I said, I have choices from there. When I can see a thing, I have the decision to move smarter, move different, learn, not
Yeah,
how life happened to me, but I allow life to happen for me. God, I might be in this situation. I might have made this mistake again, but teach me. You want to be
right.
a teacher in life.
That's good, man. Man, this has been an amazing interview, and I know there's gonna be a lot of people that this live is going to bring a lot of clarity to a lot of things that people are dealing with, and I know a lot of people are going to be reaching out. So definitely be checking your Facebook, Krista.
Okay.
How can people get in contact with you? How can they reach you?
So my platforms are mostly, it was, if you want to reach out to me, Instagram is definitely the best method. If you follow me on Instagram at Christa, that's CHRISTA dot Dior, Dior. So like Christian Dior, I'm Christa Dior. So you can really shoot a message on there. That's definitely the most effective way to get in contact with me though.
Awesome. And also too, this Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern. I know we still need to. It'll be we'll probably go live on 3 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. We have a workshop, so be in tune for that, guys. We have a workshop on Saturday. Crystal will be putting something together for you guys, going into depth. Whether it's dealing with the subconscious, I'll let her tell it, but it's going to be the same concept, healing yourself concept. And I want you guys to tap in, stay tuned. If you enjoyed this live, make sure you guys share it to some friends. Somebody needs to hear this, what transpired here. I mean, there was so much wisdom being dropped, and I get inspired, especially when I hear young people like myself just going forth and just being bold in God and going, being able to deliver a message. I mean, she's 25 years old, and like she said, she's just scratching the surface. This is just the beginning. So, again, I want to thank everybody for coming on. Krista, I want to thank you for just allowing me to interview you. And I'm glad we didn't do it yesterday, because I know yesterday was a little bit much. But I believe that this is really just the beginning for you. God is preparing a big table for you. I see you speaking at major conferences and doing some pretty phenomenal things. And I just want you to know to stay encouraged, stay focused, and because the world needs to hear your voice. When I heard you on TikTok and I began to listen to you, you touched me, and that's one of the reasons why I reached out. And we've been staying in contact for what, like the last 2 or 3 months. So, man, keep doing what you're doing. Like it is inspiring to see a person like yourself to give so much wisdom to the young people. They need to hear it. They need help. There's so many people that don't know who they are, that are lost, that are in the world, that need to hear your voice. So keep on doing what you're doing. I'm proud, and I'm just proud to be connected to you. And I thank you for just coming on this platform, giving us some of your time.
I really appreciate that. My phone is about to die, so I'm about to run.
It's all good. I'll give you a call, and then we'll just go from there. But again, thank you for coming on.
All right. Thank you for having me. Sounds good.
All right.
All right. You take care.